She switched me over to Andrew Michelle Stewart's supervisor. I have her first name and the last name. I'm going to tell you now. This is the genesis of the end of this bitch.
Anti-Afro Svengalis. It is not clickbait. Yes, of course, I'm going to talk about Dumpsy D. Derell's probation officer. Oh, this is just a short preview of what you're about to hear. He is being supervised by a probation officer during his pre-trial release status. He's out on $25,000 unsecured bond. But before I explain what's going on with the probation officer, and while I'm bringing up this probation officer's name slash pretrial release supervision, I'm going to explain all of that. Now, be sure to watch the screen so you can take note of the date. Don't miss a word of what you're going to hear because it's important. I'm going to bring it together, tie the loose ends up, link it to what's going on in the here and now. So stay tuned and I will return.
The response that I got from the people that I talked to, the person that I talked to, was as if she still worked there. She still works there. You know how I know she still works there? Because when I brought her name up, she told the person told me that they can transfer me over to her. I was like, wow. I told the person that I am here to report her and to talk about the things that she has been doing that particularly puts not only herself at risk of litigation, but also the DA's office. And you know what happened? I want you to take a wild guess what happened. Because that person I talked to, they knew exactly who she was, and they were going to switch me over to leave a message or to talk to that person. I said, no, I need to report unlawful behavior that has been going on a social media platform. You know what they did? No, they didn't hang up. She switched me over to Andrew Michelle Stewart's supervisor. I have her first name and the last name. I am waiting on a call back from this person. No, it's not a detective. No, it is not a detective. It is a victim's advocate supervisor. We're talking about multiple lawsuits or a class lawsuit that can potentially happen. I'm going to tell you now. This is the genesis of the end of this bitch. This is the end. And I'm letting you know right now, I don't give a damn how much money I got to spend to bring her ass down. It's happening. Because I didn't even think it was going to be that easy. All it took was a phone call. Now, for this information of her supervisor, I'm going to say for you all, you can hit me up at my email address to get the name of her supervisor and the phone number that I called if you want to also leave a message and give your accounts. Okay? You can reach me at this email address. And for those who already have my phone number in the sector, the few that I do talk to, you can also call me and talk to me, whatever. And I can get, but this is what has happened. She still works. I have reason to believe she still works there. She is still employed there. And she is allegedly using district attorney resources to dox people in this sector. What I can say is that whether or not she still works there or not, if she committed a crime and misused the DA's resources for this, that's retroactive. She still can be prosecuted. I'm going to give you the name, the first and last name of this lady, And what we as a sector should be doing is contacting that person and letting them know what reasons we have to believe and the evidence that we have of what she's done, and we need to have a talk. But it shouldn't stop there. No, 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 no. Not only should she be punished criminally, she should also be punished civilly. And with that comes, the DA's office. It's not. It shouldn't just stop criminal and civil. It is time for her to reap every fucking thing she sold. Contact the Ventura DA's office. That's where she's at. And bitch, I know you're listening. You're going down. You paraded around and put on this facade and act like you were black, and you're not black. You are a racist non-black who enjoys attempting to ruin the lives of black people who are trying to do positive things for their community. That's what you are. But you know what, bitch? Your days are near over. I don't give a damn how much fucking money I gotta spend to put your ass away. I don't give a shit. This is now a priority on my fucking list. I don't give a fuck if I gotta take off a day. I don't give a fuck if I gotta fly to California to make this shit happen. By the way, I love San Diego, by the way. I don't give a fuck what I gotta do. If I gotta do some shit, to make this happen, it's going to fucking happen. And I'm gonna say to the sector, the Godfather said we need to be on one accord on this shit. We need to be on one accord. We need to be like, this needs to be project get her ass out the sector. And we need to not fuck around with people that's still praising and fucking with her. And I know there are a couple of people that I know that love to clown around and say AAS and this and that and shit. My boy Propane, I'm gonna tell you the Propane, Oaklane, you my boy, you my godson and all. But if you fucking with her, I can't fuck with you. I'm just letting you know that now. I know she be fucking around in your chat and shit. I love you to death. You're one of my favorite content creators in this sector. I'm not trying to tell nobody, no grown ass person, what they should and should not be doing. But if that bitch is in your chat and you keying and he with her, I can't fuck with you.
Oh, listen, first off, let me start at the back end of what you just heard about Propane. Never listened to him. No one listened to him. The reason why I'm no longer on Propane's page because I didn't like the way he was attacking Rev G. And even before that, he just up and kicked Mona off his page, I guess because the ex-girlfriend, for whatever reason, didn't want her there. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Had nothing to do with Dumpsy. And then the other reason why I left his page is when he started to ignore what King Kong Crackhead did and decided they were going to jump me for what? For what King Kong Crackhead / Crazy said about him? He tried to use me as a scapegoat. That's why I'm no longer on his page. It never had anything to do with Dumpsy D. Derell. In fact, I don't know of anyone that actually listened to Dumpsy D. Derell because I'm not on that many pages anyway. It never worked. He expected it to work, but it didn't. The other campaign that was never going to work was the You Ain't Black campaign. You're a fat Mexican campaign. You're a Colombian drug dealer campaign. Bottom line, it was the You Ain't Black campaign. Like, what did he ever expect me to do in response? Well, based on the fact that he rides heavy duty, he and his paid flunkies on the shame campaign, how was that ever going to work? How are you going to shame someone based on something you're lying on them about? How? How's it possible? Just like you heard in this video here. You're going to shame me behind Me working at a district attorney's office that I don't work at, I'm supposed to feel some kind of way about that? That you're talking to someone's supervisor that has no impact on me? The only impact it had, disrupting the services being provided to crime victims. But he was riding heavy duty on this "You Ain't Black" campaign. You can't shame me for a lie. You can't force me to take responsibility for something that doesn't apply. But don't get me wrong, there are people who are susceptible to swallowing stuff like this hook, line, and sinker. Have you questioning all kinds of shit about yourself based on campaigns they get going about you, like you ain't black. Never been told I'm not black, never been told I'm not black enough. And even if I had, who would be saying that? You got to consider the source. It would never matter. But this is what he's used to because obviously this is where he comes from. People do. They act, they believe, they react, they function based on where they come from. You take the good and the bad. It's inevitable. I'm not saying you got to take the absolute worst, but it certainly appears that's what Dempsey D. Derell did, because this was his campaign of shame based on lies. That's one of the hallmarks of that Umar Johnson sector. And who was the main person who functions and moves like this? Umar Johnson himself. So this is a campaign that Dempsey D. Derell ran with stolen cash. We know the cash was stolen. And that's what he paid these flunkies to do, to carry out at his behest. So here is the situation. I want you to think about it, what you just heard, and you take note of how prepared, how determined D. Derell Dempsey was back in 2022, specific to this situation, bound and determined. You hear he's taking me down. I'm done. You bitch. You this. You heard it. It was okay that he did what he did, that he was harassing a district attorney's office. And did you catch it? First he says San Diego, then he says Ventura County. I mean, that's going to be a 3-hour drive without traffic between 2 points. He was trying so hard to find some way to make it appear I was in some sort of trouble. The reason why he was so angry is because we got him removed from the domestic violence batterers provider program. I'll deal with that in another video. But that's the reason why he was particularly angry when he did this live stream and was making up all this crap that he was making up. But you did note that he's telling people to email, to contact who he says is my supervisor. He wants you to make an effort to connect with someone who he says has some supervisory mandate over me. Who are those at the time who were encouraging me to go hard on Dempsey D. Derell when he was doing this? And I was saying, no, I'm not going to go hard. There's nothing to go hard on because it didn't apply to me, but I knew what he was doing, which indeed deserved to have an answer. And I was clear then, and I'm clear now. The time will come. And here we are. That was 2022 in December. Now we're in 2025 December. And yeah, I think when somebody wants to jump up and tell all kinds of lies about you, what harm is there in speaking the truth? Absolutely none. I'm here to speak the truth. I am here to give some contact information. I am here to encourage people to reach out and let the probation officer who is supervising Dempsey D. Derell's pretrial release and let them know that he's violating conditions. If he can call and lie on me, I can make sure people are contacted and the truth is spoken. What is going on? Dumpsy D. Derell is not following the court orders. Judge Bennett said for him to close that practice. And what does he have up? He has advertisements up, not the ones that auto generate. He has advertisements up on paid subscription sites. Psychology Today, that is something that you enroll in. You have to get permission for them to post your information. Now he needs to tell them to take that down. He's doing it on purpose. He was supposed to close the practice in 30 days. If you close the practice in 30 days, what the hell is he still doing with this advertisement up? It says it takes Medicaid and Medicare and TRICARE. These are all federally funded programs. So, yes, let's get a hold of this probation officer who's supervising Dumpsy D. Derell's pretrial services. I'm in the process of writing my email, and I am going to leave a message. Whether someone decides to do it or not, it's all good. But you heard what he was doing. You heard how he was pressuring and insisting and really making a point to tell people to bombard this office, to harass that victim witness office regarding somebody who doesn't even work there. Well, even if I had worked there, it's the same thing. He was adamant that you contact an outside source when he is the one here on YouTube saying, keep it on YouTube. How can they taking everything off YouTube? Isn't this an example of taking it off YouTube? Isn't this an example of, quote, trying to ruin someone's career? This is what he's saying. He wants you to call and tell these people that I'm engaging in criminal conduct that he has absolutely no proof of. None whatsoever. It wouldn't have worked anyway. Say that I was working there, him making these allegations wouldn't have made any difference. You can make up any allegation you want. If it's false, it's just that. But here's the situation with what I'm doing. If I'm going to say something and I'm asking people or encouraging people or letting people know that I'm going to be calling and writing, I'm going to be writing my emails, and I encourage them to call and or write. That's because it's a factual situation. The circumstances are verifiable. I'm going to show proof of what I'm stating. He needs to take down that Psychology Today website. He needs to cancel the subscription and let them know he no longer has a practice because Judge Bennett ordered him to shut it down. There isn't much to say in this video other than I showed you what he was doing. You heard him. Angry, very angry. It's not my problem. It is not my problem that Dumpsy D. Derell did not have actual ammunition and he had to make shit up. It is not my fault that what I'm saying is actually true. It's true what I'm saying about Dumpsy D. Derell trying to get around Judge Bennett's order. And he needs to cancel that subscription for Psychology Today because he does not have a practice. That needs to happen. I'm going to contact Francesca Sony, U.S. probation officer, and let her know and give her the evidence and ask her to instruct Dumpsy D. Derell to cancel that subscription. I don't want to see Dumpsy D. Derell advertising a practice. Repeat, I'm not talking about the auto-generated sites that just come up because someone happens to have an NPI number. He made the specific point of enrolling in Psychology Today. You have to submit all your information. It costs money to advertise on Psychology Today. So when was the last time he made a payment? Either way it goes, he can just contact them and ask them to remove the advertisement. That is what I'm going to be telling the probation officer. And don't worry, I will let her know the background. I'll make it very clear who I am. Most important, we need to get that site down. That site needs to come down because it's a court order. This is a public safety issue. This is someone who has taken advantage of vulnerable people and is being held accountable for it. He should not be allowed to keep up a site. He needs to be held accountable and responsible for following those court orders. I'm going to let you know the outcome of my contact. I'm not going to take no for an answer. If I don't hear from U.S. Probation Officer Francesca Sony, I will contact the next person up. You heard him talking about supervisors, right? Wasn't he just talking about supervisors? That he's talking to supervisors, he's going up the chain. Well, I can go up the chain on him, and that's what I'm going to do. If those advertisements don't come down, he has them up for therapy and community services. He has neither one of those services. They are defunct by court order. Close the practice. You know I got more coming your way. In the meantime, buyer beware.